The shields flickered again, and Jake Morrison felt his stomach tighten. He stood on the observation deck of the Council's command station, watching another wave of Kryneth bioships slam into Viridian Prime's defenses. The explosions lit up space like fireworks, but there was nothing beautiful about it. People were dying down there. Millions of them. How much longer can the shields hold? Jake asked. The Saurian officer next to him, a tall reptilian creature named Vexitar, studied his display. His scaled face showed no emotion, but Jake had learned to read the slight movements of his head crest. Vexitar was worried. 12% capacity remaining, Vexitar said. His voice was calm, measured. Perhaps another day. 2 if we are fortunate. Jake bit back his frustration. 2 days. The Council had been fighting this battle for 3 weeks, and they were losing. Slowly, methodically, honorably losing. The Kryneth swarm had arrived without warning, 50,000 bioships strong, and settled in for a siege. The Council's combined fleets had met them with traditional tactics. Careful strikes, measured responses, everything by the book. The problem was that the Kryneth didn't care about books. We could end this, Jake said quietly. He had said it before, many times. Vexitar's crest flattened against his skull. Commander Morrison, we have discussed this. The Council appreciates humanity's offer, but we must handle this according to established protocols. Your species is new to galactic warfare. You do not understand the complexities. Jake turned away from the window. He had been a military observer for 2 years now, sent by Earth to learn how the galactic community handled conflicts. What he had learned disturbed him. The Council species fought wars like chess matches. Slow, deliberate, with rules that both sides followed. Humans didn't fight that way. Humans fought to win. How many dead so far? Jake asked. Vexitar hesitated. Approximately 4 million military personnel. Another 2 million civilians during the initial assault. 6 million dead in 3 weeks. Jake closed his eyes. On Earth, that number would have triggered total war. Every weapon, every soldier, everything thrown at the enemy until they were destroyed. But here, the Council debated strategy and maintained proper engagement distances. His communicator buzzed. It was Lisa Grant, Earth's ambassador to the Council. Jake, can you talk? Go ahead. I'm making another push in the Council chambers. I need you to send me updated casualty figures and shield strength. Real numbers, not their sanitized versions. Jake glanced at Vexitar, who was focused on his displays. Shields at 12%. 6 million dead. The Kryneth are regenerating their bioships faster than the Council can destroy them. There was silence on the line. Then Lisa spoke, her voice tight with controlled anger. I'm getting us into this fight, Jake, one way or another. The Council won't agree. Vexitar just gave me the same speech about protocols. Then I'll make them agree. We didn't come to the stars to watch good people die because of tradition. The line went dead. Jake pocketed his communicator and returned to watching the battle. Another flight of Council fighters launched from Viridian Prime, their elegant ships moving in perfect formation. They engaged a cluster of Kryneth bioships, weapons fire lighting up the darkness. The fight lasted 20 minutes. When it was over, half the Council fighters were gone, and the Kryneth had lost maybe a dozen ships out of hundreds. Beautiful flying, Vexitar said, watching the surviving fighters return. Captain Thren led that squadron. He has been decorated 4 times for valor. How many ships did he lose? Jake asked. 8 out of 15. Acceptable losses for the damage inflicted. Jake wanted to scream. Acceptable. 8 crews dead was acceptable because they followed the rules, because they engaged at the proper distance with the proper weapons at the proper time. His people had a saying, there are no points for style in a gunfight. Hours passed. Jake remained on the observation deck, watching the slow-motion disaster unfold. The Council fleets moved with precision, executing complex maneuvers that would have impressed any military academy. But the Kryneth didn't care about impressiveness. They cared about numbers. For every bioship destroyed, 2 more emerged from the massive Queen ship at the center of their swarm. The Queen ship. Jake had been studying it for days. It was huge, maybe 50 miles long, pulsing with organic light. The Kryneth hive mind originated there. Kill the Queen and the swarm would collapse. It was basic strategy, but the Council wouldn't target it. Command vessels are off limits during siege warfare, Vexitar had explained when Jake suggested it. It has been this way for millennia. To attack an enemy's leadership directly would be dishonorable. It would make negotiated peace impossible. Jake had stared at him in disbelief. You're losing millions of people to stay honorable? We are maintaining civilization, Commander. Without rules, we are no better than the Kryneth. Now, watching another section of Viridian Prime's shields collapse under sustained fire, Jake wondered if civilization was worth the price. His communicator buzzed again. Jake, it's Lisa. I'm sending you coordinates. Get to Docking Bay 7. What's happening? The Council voted. It was close, but they're allowing human intervention. One ship. Admiral Kyle Bennett is bringing the ESS Valiant through the jump gate now. Jake felt a surge of hope. Finally. What are the rules of engagement? Lisa's laugh was bitter. That's the fun part. The Council expects us to follow their protocols. Standard engagement distances. No targeting of command vessels. Proper challenge and response procedures. Vextar is sending over a list of regulations now. Bennett won't follow those rules. I know. I'm counting on it. Get to the docking bay. Bennett wants you as liaison with Council forces. Jake was already moving. He nodded to Vextar. Excuse me, Chancellor. I need to brief our incoming vessel. Vextar looked up from his displays. Commander Morrison, please ensure your admiral understands the protocols. We are grateful for human assistance, but this must be done properly. I'll make sure he understands the situation, Jake said carefully. He didn't promise anything about following protocols. As he hurried through the corridors of the command station, Jake felt something he hadn't felt in weeks. It wasn't quite hope. It was something sharper, more focused. It was the feeling a human got when they stopped playing defense and started playing offense. The ESS Valiant was coming, and with it humanity's approach to warfare. No chess matches, no honor duels, no acceptable losses, just results. Jake reached the docking bay and waited. Through the windows he could see the jump gate flare with blue light. A ship emerged, smaller than the Council's massive dreadnoughts but built like a weapon. The Valiant looked dangerous even sitting still. Its hull was dark gray, covered in sensor arrays and weapon ports. It didn't look elegant or impressive. It looked mean. Jake smiled for the first time in weeks. The Council thought they were getting a helper, another ship to add to their careful strategies. They were about to learn what human warfare really meant. The battle had raged for 3 weeks. Humanity was about to end it in moments. Ambassador Lisa Grant stood before the Galactic Council and tried to keep her voice steady. The chamber was massive, with representatives from 7 different species arranged in a circular pattern. Each delegation had their own section, their own displays, their own way of processing the disaster unfolding outside. Honorable members, Lisa began. Viridian Prime has less than a day before shields fail completely. My government requests permission to intervene with military force. Counselor Thren, an amphibian creature with translucent skin, raised one webbed hand. Ambassador Grant, humanity's concern is noted. However, this council has handled such conflicts for 10,000 years. What makes you believe your species, barely 2 centuries in space, can succeed where we have not? Lisa had expected this. She pulled up a holographic display. Because we fight differently. In the past 3 weeks, Council forces have destroyed approximately 8,000 Kryneth vessels. You've lost 15,000 ships doing it. The math doesn't work in your favor. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Vextar, who now sat with the Saurian delegation, spoke up. Ambassador, warfare is not merely mathematics. There are traditions to uphold. Rules of engagement that separate us from barbarians. Traditions? Lisa's voice rose slightly. Chancellor, 6 million beings are dead. How many more need to die for tradition? An insectoid counselor clicked its mandibles. The human speaks with passion but little understanding. Our protocols exist for reason. Without them, every conflict becomes war of extinction. We maintain civilization through restraint. Lisa took a breath. She had studied council history, knew their perspective. Most galactic species had evolved on peaceful worlds with limited competition. War, when it came, was almost ritualized, careful, controlled. Earth was different. Humanity had clawed its way up through millions of years of competition. Predators on every continent. Ice ages, plagues, thousands of tribal conflicts before they even invented writing. By the time humans reached the stars, they had fought more wars than some species had fought battles. I understand your position, Lisa said carefully. But understanding and agreeing are different things. My species learned hard lessons. When something threatens your home, you don't wound it, you end it. Thren's skin darkened, a sign of agitation. That philosophy is precisely why we hesitate to involve humanity. You are too quick to violence, too willing to ignore consequences. The consequence of your restraint is millions of dead, Lisa shot back. What consequence could be worse? Vextar stood. The ambassador makes valid points despite her directness. I propose a compromise. We allow one human vessel to join the defense. They will operate under council oversight, following established protocols. The chamber erupted in debate. Some councilors argued that even one human ship was too dangerous. Others pointed out that they were running out of options. Lisa waited, letting them argue. She had learned patience in her 2 years here. Finally, a vote was called. It passed by a narrow margin. One human ship. Full council protocols, Lisa bowed. Thank you, honorable members. I will relay your decision immediately. She left the chamber and headed straight for the communications center. Jake Morrison was already there, along with Captain Danny Hayes, who had arrived ahead of the Valiant to coordinate logistics. We got approval, Lisa said. One ship under council rules. Danny, a lean man with sharp eyes, looked up from his display. Council rules. Do they understand we don't fight that way? They're about to learn, Lisa said. She opened a secure channel to the Valiant. Admiral Bennett, this is Ambassador Grant. You are cleared for entry. The display flickered and Admiral Kyle Bennett appeared. He was in his 50s with gray hair and the calm expression of someone who had seen everything twice. Behind him, the Valiant's bridge was all business. No fancy displays or comfortable chairs. Just efficiency, Ambassador. I understand the Council has conditions. They want you to follow engagement protocols. No targeting command vessels. Maintain proper distances. Challenge before firing. I'm sending you the full list now. Bennett glanced at something off-screen, probably reading the protocols. His expression didn't change. These are suggestions, right? They're requirements, Admiral. The Council was very clear. Ambassador, with respect, I have one job. End this battle and save lives. If I follow these protocols, I'll be fighting this battle for another 3 weeks. More people will die. Lisa had known this moment would come. Admiral, if you violate Council protocols, there will be political consequences. Serious ones. Humanity's standing in the galactic community could be damaged. Bennett was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was soft but firm. Ma'am, I'll worry about politics after I've saved Viridian Prime. Right now, I'm going to do what I'm trained to do. I'm going to end this fight. The Council expects you to ask permission before major actions. I'll ask forgiveness instead. It's easier. Lisa wanted to argue, but she found she couldn't. Bennett was right. Following the rules meant more death. Breaking them meant saving lives but risking humanity's reputation. Do what you need to do, Admiral, she said finally. I'll handle the Council. Bennett nodded. I'll need Commander Morrison as liaison. He knows how Council forces operate. Jake's standing by. He'll join you within the hour. Good. One more thing, Ambassador. When this is over, the Council is going to be upset. Probably angry. Make sure they understand we didn't do this to show off or prove a point. We did it because it needed doing. The channel closed. Lisa sat down, suddenly tired. Danny moved to stand beside her. You know they're going to tear us apart politically, Danny said quietly. Probably, but we'll have saved millions of lives doing it. That's worth some angry Council members. Is it worth humanity's place in the galactic community? Lisa thought about that. She had spent 2 years building relationships, making friends, establishing trust. Bennett was about to spend those relationships like ammunition. But she thought about the 6 million already dead. The millions more who would die if this siege continued. Yes, she said. It's worth it. Jake entered the communications center carrying a datapad. I've got the full tactical situation uploaded. Council forces are coordinated but predictable. The Krynith have adapted to every strategy they've tried. Because the Council keeps using the same playbook, Danny said. Same tactics, same approaches. Just slightly modified each time. The Admiral won't have that problem, Jake said. I've worked with him before. He doesn't believe in playbooks. Lisa looked at both men. The Council thinks Bennett is coming to help them. They think he'll slot into their battle plan, add some firepower, follow orders. Jake smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. They're in for a surprise. He's really going to attack the Queen ship, isn't he? Lisa asked. That would be my guess. It's the logical target. Kill the brain, and the body dies. The Council specifically forbids targeting command vessels. The Council doesn't understand human doctrine, Jake said. We don't extend courtesy to enemies trying to kill us. We end threats quickly, decisively, permanently. Through the window they could see the Valiant moving into position. It looked small compared to the Council's massive warships, but there was something about the way it moved, purposeful and direct, that made it seem dangerous. Lieutenant Amy Carter, the Valiant's weapons specialist, sent a brief message. Ready for action. All systems green. Target acquisition locked on Queen ship. Lisa read the message and closed her eyes. There was no going back now. God help us, she whispered. God helps those who help themselves, Danny replied. And right now we're about to help ourselves to one dead queen. The bridge of the ESS Valiant was quiet. Admiral Kyle Bennett sat in his command chair studying the tactical display. Around him, his crew worked with practiced efficiency. No unnecessary talk. No wasted motion. Just professionals doing their jobs. Jake Morrison stood beside the Admiral's chair, feeling oddly out of place. He had spent 3 weeks watching the Council's elaborate bridge ceremonies, their formal communications, their careful procedures. The Valiant was nothing like that. It felt more like a workshop than a warship. What am I looking at? Bennett asked, pointing at the display. 3 weeks of battle data, Jake replied. The Council has been very thorough in their record keeping. I can see that. What I want to know is why they're losing. Captain Danny Hayes pulled up a secondary display. They're fighting by the rules, sir. Proper engagement distances. No targeting of command vessels. Equal response to provocation. It's like watching a boxing match where one side refuses to hit below the belt. And the Kryneth? They don't have a belt, sir. They just keep coming. Bennett leaned forward, fingers steepled. Show me the Queen ship. The display shifted. The massive Kryneth vessel appeared, pulsing with organic light. It sat at the center of the swarm, protected by thousands of bioships. That's your hive mind center? Bennett asked. Yes, sir, Jake said. Kill it and the swarm loses coordination. They become individual ships instead of one organism. Why hasn't the Council targeted it? Rules of engagement forbid direct attacks on command vessels. It's considered dishonorable. Bennett was quiet for a long moment. Then he turned to Jake. Commander, in human military history, what happens when you leave enemy command and control intact? You lose, sir. Or you fight forever. Exactly. Bennett stood and walked to the display. Lieutenant Carter, you're our weapons specialist. What would it take to kill that Queen ship? Amy Carter looked up from her console. She was young, maybe 30, but she had the confidence of someone who knew her job perfectly. Everything we have, sir. And we'd need to get close. Very close. How close? Point-blank range. Inside the swarm. Maybe 5,000 kilometers from the Queen. Danny whistled softly. That's suicide range, Amy. I didn't say it would be easy, Captain. I said it was possible, Bennett smiled. I like possible. What else do we need? Commander Pete Sullivan, the chief engineer, spoke up from his station. Speed, sir. We can't fight our way through 50,000 bioships. We'd have to punch through before they can react. Can we do that? Pete ran some calculations. If we redirect all power to engines and forward shields, we could hit 0.7 light speed in about 8 minutes. At that velocity, we'd be through the outer swarm before they could coordinate a response. What about our own shields? They'll take a beating. We'll lose hull plating, maybe some external sensors. But the core structure should hold. Bennett nodded slowly. Jake could see him processing, planning. This was what human commanders did. They looked at impossible situations and found solutions. Dr. Brooks, Bennett said, addressing the ship's xenobiologist. Tell me about the Kryneth hive mind. Helen Brooks pulled up her research. The Queen ship is the central processor for the entire swarm. Individual bioships have limited intelligence. They follow patterns broadcast from the Queen. If we destroy her, the swarm fragments. They'll still be dangerous but uncoordinated. How long would it take them to establish a new Queen? Weeks, maybe months. They'd have to grow one, so we'd have a window to clean up the fragments. Yes, sir. Bennett returned to his chair. Here's what we're going to do. Single strike. Maximum violence. We're going to accelerate to ramming speed, launch every weapon we have, punch through the swarm, and put everything into that Queen ship. Then we're going to trust the Council forces to clean up what's left. The bridge was silent. Then Amy spoke. Sir, the Council protocols specifically forbid that kind of attack. I know. We'll be court-martialed. Probably tried for war crimes under galactic law. I know that too, Danny stood up. Admiral, I'm required to point out that you're violating direct orders from the Galactic Council. Noted. Anyone else have concerns? Jake watched as each crew member considered. They all knew what Bennett was proposing. It wasn't just against the rules. It was against everything the galactic community believed about warfare. But it would work. I'm in, Amy said. Those bioships killed millions. If we can end it, we should. Engineering agrees, Pete added. I didn't join the service to watch people die because of someone else's honor code. One by one, the crew voiced their support. Bennett looked at Jake. Commander Morrison, you're our liaison with Council forces. This puts you in a difficult position. Jake thought about the past 3 weeks. The millions dead. The elegant tactics that accomplished nothing. Vextar's calm acceptance of acceptable losses. I'll coordinate with Council forces, sir. Make sure they're ready to exploit our attack. They're going to be angry. They're going to be alive. I'll take angry, Bennett nodded. All right then. We go in 30 minutes. I want every system checked twice. Amy, prep every missile and drone we have. Pete, get me that acceleration curve. Danny, work out the exact trajectory. Helen, I want to know exactly where to hit the Queen ship for maximum damage. The crew exploded into action. Jake moved to a communications console and opened a channel to Vextar. The Saurian appeared on screen, his crest raised in alert. Commander Morrison, is your vessel ready to coordinate with our forces? Yes, Chancellor. Admiral Bennett is preparing for immediate action. He requests that Council forces prepare for pursuit operations. Pursuit? We are in defensive formation. What is your admiral planning? Jake chose his words carefully. An aggressive maneuver, sir. Details to follow once we've engaged. Vextar's crest flattened slightly. Commander, this sounds irregular. What exactly does aggressive mean? It means we're going to end this battle, Chancellor. I recommend you have your forces ready to move on my signal. This is highly unusual. I need to know the specific plan. With respect, sir, there's no time. Just trust us. And be ready. Jake closed the channel before Vextar could argue further. He felt guilty about the deception, but he knew the Chancellor would try to stop them if he knew the truth. Bennett stood at the center of the bridge, watching his crew prepare. 25 minutes, he announced. This is going to be fast and violent. The Kryneth won't know what hit them. Hell, the Council won't know what hit them. Amy looked up from her weapons console. All ordnance ready, sir. I've programmed a staggered launch pattern. The drones will create a corridor for our approach. Good, Pete. How are we on power? Reactors at maximum. We can sustain full acceleration for 15 minutes. After that, we'll need to coast. More than enough time. Bennett sat down. Everyone strap in. This is going to be rough. Jake took a seat and secured his harness. Around him, the crew finished their preparations. There was no fear on their faces, just determination. They're going to call us war criminals, Danny said quietly. Maybe, Bennett replied. But those millions of people on Viridian Prime will call us heroes. I know which one I'd rather be. The countdown began. Jake watched the Kryneth swarm on the display, completely unaware of what was coming. They had spent 3 weeks wearing down the Council forces, following their patterns, exploiting their predictability. They had never faced humans before. They didn't know that humans didn't follow patterns. Humans adapted. Humans improvised. Humans won. 10 seconds, Danny announced. All systems green. Bennett's hand hovered over the command console. Remember, people, maximum violence, minimum time. We're going to teach the galaxy what human warfare really means. The timer hit 0. Engage. The Valiant surged forward like a bullet. Jake felt the acceleration press him into his seat, the harness digging into his shoulders. On the display, the Kryneth swarm grew larger with terrifying speed. Acceleration at 90%, Pete called out. Hull integrity holding. Launch first wave, Bennett ordered. Amy's fingers danced across her console. Missiles away. Drones deploying. Jake watched as hundreds of projectiles erupted from the Valiant's launch tubes. They spread out in a pattern, creating a cone of destruction ahead of the ship. The missiles were old-fashioned by galactic standards. Solid fuel, simple guidance systems. But they were fast and there were a lot of them. Impact in 40 seconds, Amy announced. The Kryneth swarm began to react. Bioships turned toward the incoming missiles, their organic weapons charging. But they were too slow. The Council had trained them to expect careful, measured attacks. Single waves that could be intercepted and destroyed. This was a flood. Drones are jamming their coordination, Amy reported. Kryneth responses scattered. Time? Bennett asked. 2 minutes since engagement. We're at .4 light speed. Jake could see it on the display. The missiles hit the outer edge of the swarm like a hammer. Explosions rippled through the Krynith formation. Ships died by the dozens, then by the hundreds, and behind the missiles came the drones, smaller and faster, slipping through gaps in the Krynith defenses. They're trying to form a defensive wall, Danny said. 1,000 ships moving to intercept. Too slow, Bennett replied. Amy, launch second wave. Target that wall, more missiles. More drones. The Valiant was bleeding ammunition, throwing everything it had at the swarm. Jake had never seen anything like it. The Council forces launched careful strikes, conserving resources. The Valiant fought like it had an unlimited supply of weapons. It didn't, of course, but Bennett was betting everything on this single attack. Hull impacts, Pete called out. Forward shields at 70%. We're taking fire. Maintain speed, Bennett ordered. The ship shuddered as Krynith weapons found their mark. Bioplasma washed over the shields, and Jake could hear the hull groaning under the stress. Warning lights flickered on consoles around the bridge. Shields at 50%, Pete said. His voice was steady, but Jake could hear the tension underneath. How much further? Bennett asked. 4 minutes to optimal firing range, Amy replied. 6 minutes to the Queen ship. Jake opened a channel to Vextar. The Saurian appeared on screen, his crest fully raised in alarm. Commander Morrison, what is your vessel doing? Your attack pattern is completely irregular. You are violating engagement protocols. We're ending the battle, Chancellor. Prepare your forces to advance on my signal. Advance. You are charging into the center of the swarm. This is suicide. You must withdraw immediately. No, sir. Trust us, just be ready. Jake closed the channel. On the main display, he could see Council ships hanging back, watching in confusion. They had never seen an attack like this. Aggressive, reckless, committed. Forward shields at 30%, Pete announced. We're losing hull plating. Sections 4 and 7 are exposed to vacuum. Can we maintain acceleration? Yes, sir. But if those shields fail completely, we'll be dead in seconds. Then let's make sure we finish before that happens. Amy, status on the Queen ship? Target acquired. I have firing solutions for all primary weapons. Railguns, plasma cannons, and nuclear missiles, everything. Bennett leaned forward. The moment we're in range, I want everything fired simultaneously. One massive alpha strike. No holding back. Understood, sir. The Valiant punched through another cluster of bioships. The shields flickered, nearly failing, then stabilized. Jake could smell smoke now, see sparks from damaged systems. The ship was taking a beating, but they were through the outer swarm. 2 minutes to firing range, Amy said. Queen ship dead ahead. On the display, the massive Krynith vessel dominated the view. It pulsed with organic light, completely unaware that death was coming at .7 light speed. Around it, bioships scrambled to form a protective screen, but they were too late. Forward shields at 15%, Pete said. I'm redirecting power from life support. Do it, Bennett ordered. The temperature on the bridge dropped. Jake's breath misted in front of him. Non-essential systems shut down. Everything channeled to keeping those shields alive for just a few more minutes. 1 minute to firing range. The Queen ship loomed larger. Jake could see details now. Organic structures. Pulsing chambers. Thousands of smaller organisms crawling across its surface. It was beautiful in a terrible way. It was also about to die. 30 seconds. All weapons armed and ready, Amy reported. Targeting the central mass. Fire on my mark, Bennett said. His voice was calm, almost casual, like he was ordering lunch instead of unleashing total destruction. 15 seconds. The Krynith finally realized what was happening. Bioships swarmed toward the Valiant, firing desperately. The shields flashed, barely holding. 10 seconds. Forward shields at 8%. 5 seconds. In range. Fire everything. Amy triggered every weapon system simultaneously. The Valiant's railguns fired, sending solid metal slugs at a fraction of light speed. The plasma cannons unleashed streams of superheated matter. Nuclear-tipped missiles launched, their engines burning white-hot. And the ship kept coming. They hit the Queen ship at point-blank range. The railgun slugs punched through the organic armor like it was paper. The plasma cannons burned deep channels into the massive vessel. The nuclear missiles detonated inside the Queen's body, chain reactions tearing through internal structures. The Queen ship began to come apart. Target is breaking up, Amy reported. Multiple internal explosions. She's dying. Get us out of here, Bennett ordered. Pete reversed the engines and the Valiant began to decelerate. Around them, the Krynith swarm was in chaos. Without the Queen's coordinating influence, individual bioships lost cohesion. They drifted, confused, firing randomly. "Signal Council forces," Bennett said. "Tell them to advance now. The swarm is broken." Jake opened channels to Vextar and the other Council commanders. "All ships, this is Commander Morrison. The Krynith hive mind has been destroyed. The swarm is uncoordinated. Advance and engage at will." There was a pause. Then the Council fleets began to move. Carefully at first, then with growing confidence as they realized the Krynith were no longer functioning as a unified force. Individual bioships were picked off easily, unable to support each other. It was a massacre. "How long did that take?" Bennett asked. Danny checked his display. "From first acceleration to Queen ship destruction. 37 minutes, sir. 37 minutes. 3 weeks of brutal siege warfare ended in half an hour." "Casualties?" Bennett asked. Pete consulted damage reports. 3 dead in Section 7 when the hull breached. 23 wounded. Ship is operational but needs repairs. "And we saved millions," Bennett said quietly. He stood up. "Get me a full damage assessment. I want to know what we need to fix before we can jump back to Earth." "Sir," Amy said, "we're being hailed by the Council command station. Chancellor Vextar wants to speak with you." Bennett nodded. "Put him on." Vextar appeared on screen. His crest was flattened completely against his skull. His eyes were wide. "Admiral Bennett." "What have you done?" "I ended the battle, Chancellor. Viridian Prime is safe. The Krynith are broken. You violated every protocol. You attacked a command vessel directly. You charged into the center of an enemy formation. You risked your entire crew on a single strike." "Yes, sir. And it worked." Vextar was silent. Behind him, Jake could see other Council members gathering, all staring at displays showing the battle's aftermath. "You have no idea what you have done," Vextar said finally. "The political implications alone. With respect, Chancellor, I don't care about politics. I care about results. 6 million beings died in 3 weeks following your protocols. I lost 3 crew members in 37 minutes and saved a planet. You tell me which approach is better." The channel went silent. Then Vextar spoke, his voice very quiet. "Ambassador Grant wishes to speak with you, immediately." The screen switched to Lisa. She looked exhausted. "Admiral, the Council is in emergency session. They're talking about charging you with war crimes." Bennett shrugged. "Let them talk. Meanwhile, Viridian Prime is safe. That's what matters, I agree. But Kyle, you need to understand. You just changed everything. The galaxy watched you fight a battle in a way they've never seen. You scared them." "Good," Bennett replied. "Fear prevents more wars than honor ever did." Lisa smiled despite herself. "You're probably right. I'll handle the Council. You focus on getting your people home." The channel closed. Bennett looked around his bridge. His crew looked back, tired but proud. "Well done, people. You just taught the galaxy what human warfare looks like. Now let's go home." The emergency council session had been going for 6 hours. Lisa sat in the human delegation section, listening to speaker after speaker condemn Admiral Bennett's actions. They used words like reckless, barbaric, and dangerous. Nobody used the word effective. The human vessel completely disregarded established protocols, Counselor Thren said, his translucent skin flushed dark with emotion. They attacked a command vessel. They used overwhelming force with no regard for honorable engagement. This cannot be tolerated. Lisa waited for him to finish. Then she stood. "Counselor Thren, I have a question. How many Council military personnel died today?" Thren looked confused. "That is not relevant to... How many?" Lisa repeated. Vextar consulted a display. "During the human assault, Council forces suffered 0 casualties." "0, Lisa said, letting that sink in. "And how many died in the 3 weeks before we arrived?" "Silence. 6 million, Lisa continued. 6 million beings died following your protocols. Admiral Bennett lost 3 crew members and saved a planet. You want to court-martial him for that?" "It is not about numbers," an insectoid counselor clicked. "It is about principles. Without rules, warfare becomes chaos. And with too many rules, warfare becomes a slow-motion disaster," Lisa shot back. "You fought the Krynith for 3 weeks and lost ground every day. We fought them for 37 minutes and won." "Those are the facts," a new voice spoke up. It was Senator Greg Palmer, who had just arrived from Earth. He was a political heavyweight sent to help manage the fallout. "Honorable Council members, I understand your concerns. Admiral Bennett's tactics were aggressive. They violated your expectations. But let me ask you something. If the Krynith returned tomorrow, who would you want defending Viridian Prime? Ships that follow protocols or ships that win battles? The chamber erupted in argument. Some counselors defended traditional warfare. Others quietly admitted that the human approach had merit. Lisa caught Vextar's eye. The Saurian looked troubled. After the session ended, Vextar approached her. "Ambassador Grant, may I speak with you privately?" They moved to a small conference room. Vextar settled into a chair designed for his species and was quiet for a long moment. "You must understand," he said finally, "that what your admiral did terrifies us. We have spent millennia building a civilization based on restraint, rules that prevent wars from becoming extinction events. Then humanity arrives and ignores all of it. Chancellor, I do understand, but your restraint has limits. The Krynith don't follow rules. Neither do a dozen other threats in this galaxy. What happens when you face an enemy who won't play by your protocols? We adapt. We negotiate. We find solutions, and you tried that for 3 weeks. It didn't work." Vextar's crest rippled. "No, it did not." He looked at her. "Tell me honestly, Ambassador, is Admiral Bennett typical of human military commanders?" Lisa thought about that. "Yes and no. He's aggressive, but he's not reckless. He calculated every move, assessed every risk. But yes, his basic approach is very human. We fight to win quickly, decisively. We don't believe in prolonged warfare." "Why?" "Because our planet taught us that prolonged conflicts kill everyone. We had nuclear weapons before we had space travel. We learned that if you're going to fight, you end it fast before it ends you." Vexatar was quiet again. "We evolved differently. Our worlds were peaceful. War was rare. When it came, it was almost ceremonial, a way to resolve disputes without destroying civilizations." "That's beautiful," Lisa said. "Truly. But the universe doesn't care about how you evolved." The Krynith proved that. Yes, they did. The next day, Jake stood on the observation deck with Admiral Bennett. The Valiant was docked for repairs and crews swarmed over its damaged hull. Below them, Viridian Prime was beginning recovery operations. "How bad is the political situation?" Bennett asked. "Bad. Half the council wants to try you for war crimes. The other half wants to give you a medal. And which half will win? Neither, probably. They'll compromise. Issue a formal reprimand, maybe some restrictions. But Kyle, you changed something fundamental. The galaxy watched what you did. Word is spreading to every system." Bennett nodded. "Good. Maybe next time there's a crisis, they'll think twice before wasting weeks on protocol. Or maybe they'll be too scared to work with us at all. Fear has its uses." Jake joined them. He had just come from a meeting with Council military advisors. "Admiral, you're not going to believe this. 6 different species have requested human military advisors. They want to study our tactics." Bennett raised an eyebrow. "They went from wanting to court-martial me to wanting my advice?" "They're practical, at least. They saw what worked." "What did you tell them?" "That I'd pass along their requests." "But Admiral, this could change everything. If we start training other species in human warfare, then the galaxy becomes a more dangerous place," Bennett finished. "Or a safer one, depending on your perspective." A chime indicated an incoming message. It was Dr. Helen Brooks calling from the Valiant's medical bay. "Admiral, you asked for a report on the Krynith fragments." "Go ahead, Doctor. Council forces have destroyed about 90% of the remaining bioships. The rest are fleeing in random directions. Without a queen, they're just animals. Dangerous, but not organized. How long before they could establish a new queen? Months, maybe a year. They'd have to regroup, select a new queen larva, grow her to maturity. It's not a fast process, so we have time." "Yes, sir. The immediate threat is over." Bennett closed the channel and turned back to the view. Viridian Prime gleamed in the light of its star. Damaged, but alive. Recovery ships moved between the planet and the Council fleet, beginning the long process of rebuilding. Was it worth it? Jake asked quietly. "The political cost?" Bennett considered that. "Commander, in my 30 years of service, I've learned one thing. Politicians argue about principles. Soldiers care about outcomes. We saved millions of lives. That's the outcome that matters. Some people are calling us barbarians. Let them. Barbarians who win are called conquerors. Civilized people who lose are called casualties. I'd rather be the first." Lisa received word that the council had reached a decision. She, Bennett, and Jake were summoned to the main chamber. The entire council was assembled, along with representatives from dozens of other species who had come to observe. High Chancellor Vextar stood. Admiral Kyle Bennett, you are here to answer for your actions during the Battle of Viridian Prime. Bennett stood at attention. He wore his dress uniform, every ribbon and medal perfectly placed. He looked like exactly what he was, a professional soldier. This council has debated your tactics extensively, Vextar continued. Your disregard for established protocols was extreme. Your willingness to risk your crew was troubling. Your attack on the Kryneth command vessel violated millennia of warfare tradition. Bennett said nothing. However, Vextar continued, and Lisa heard the subtle change in his tone. We cannot ignore the results. Viridian Prime stands. The Kryneth are broken. Millions of lives were saved. Your crew fought with courage and skill. The chamber was silent. Therefore, this council has decided to issue a formal commendation to you and your crew, along with an official note of concern regarding future adherence to protocol. Additionally, humanity is offered full membership in the Galactic Council, effective immediately. The chamber erupted. Some counselors applauded. Others sat in stunned silence. Lisa felt tears in her eyes. Full membership. Earth had been working toward that goal for decades. Bennett allowed himself a small smile. Thank you, Chancellor. I accept your commendation and your concern. I hope we never have to fight another battle. But if we do, I hope you'll trust us to do what we do best. And what is that, Admiral? Win. Later on the observation deck, Lisa and Bennett watched the stars. The Valiant would leave soon, returning to Earth with news of their new status in the galactic community. They're afraid of us now, Lisa said quietly. Good. Fear prevents wars better than honor ever did. And when they stop being afraid, Bennett was quiet for a moment. Then they'll remember Viridian Prime. They'll remember that when the situation was desperate, when millions were dying, humanity didn't hesitate. We acted, we won, and we did it in 37 minutes. He turned to look at her. The galaxy thought they understood warfare. Careful, controlled, civilized. We showed them what warfare really is. Fast, brutal, effective. We didn't invent anything new. Lisa, we just reminded them what happens when you stop playing games and start fighting to win. Lisa looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, word was spreading. About the human ship that charged into impossible odds. About the battle that lasted weeks until humans ended it in moments. About a species that fought differently than anyone else. Some would fear that. Some would respect it. Some would want to learn from it. But everyone would remember it. The Battle of Viridian Prime would echo through the galaxy for generations. Not as a lesson in honor or tradition, but as a reminder of what happens when you fight humans. You lose. Unless you're smart enough not to fight them at all.